When the wedding music froze, every guest thought something had gone terribly wrong. As the officiant asked if anyone objected, the woman known as the wheelchair-bound billionaire bride looked straight at the man she'd just married and began to rise. Gasps rippled through the cathedral, but the groom, Marcus Reed, didn't look shocked. He leaned forward, ready to catch her, because for him, this wasn't a spectacle. It was a moment layered with months of quiet truth no one else understood. To get how we reached this instant, you have to rewind a year, to a cold morning outside a courthouse where Marcus, a black single father juggling 2 jobs, stood holding eviction notices and custody paperwork, praying for time he didn't have. That's when a black SUV pulled up. The woman inside, sharp-eyed and composed despite her wheelchair, asked for help. Not with money, but with something far stranger. A legal marriage contract. It was designed to protect her from predatory relatives circling her multi-billion-dollar empire. The marriage would be public, binding, and temporary. Marcus said no at first. Dignity matters when you have a child watching. But the weeks that followed were brutal. His hours were cut. His son's school threatened suspension over unpaid lunches, and those same smiling relatives tried to have her declared incompetent. When she returned, not with pressure, but with transparency, explaining every clause, every exit, every safeguard. Marcus agreed, not out of greed, but out of survival. He thought it would last a year at most. But distance didn't survive reality. Living in the same house turned contracts into conversations, and pity into respect. Marcus never treated her like a burden or a miracle. He treated her like a person, somewhere between physical therapy sessions and boardroom calls. She told him the truth she'd never trusted 2 headlines. Her condition wasn't hopeless, just slow. She'd kept the possibility of standing again private because hope becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. Marquez never told her to try harder. He just showed up, day after day. The same way he showed up for his son. That steadiness changed something. Love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with consistency. The morning after the wedding wasn't a fairy tale. It was tense. Lawyers called non-stop. Board members demanded meetings. Relatives who'd smiled politely at the ceremony now questioned Marcus's intentions. His past, his right to even be there. When a senior executive implied Marcus was a risk and suggested a settlement to make him go away, he simply said no. Walking away now would teach his son the wrong lesson. When his new wife heard about that meeting, she wheeled herself into the boardroom and made it clear. Marcus was not a placeholder. He was her husband by choice, and any attempt to undermine him was an attempt to undermine her. But resentment doesn't just disappear. It waits. Marcus felt it in the stares of the staff, in the way security followed him just a little too closely. The pressure seeped into home life. His son, asking why people on TV were arguing about their family. One night, Marcus found his wife sitting alone in the dark, tears spilling, not because standing was hard, but because standing had exposed her. She admitted she'd built her empire by never needing anyone, and now the world was watching her learn to trust. The attacks became subtler. Anonymous tips to the media. The breaking point came when an article implied his son was being used. Marcus told his wife he would leave if his presence put her at risk. She looked at him and said something that changed everything. She had married him to be protected from the world. She'd married him to face it, honestly. The next day, she called a live press conference. She stood with effort but without shame and told the world the full truth about the contract, her slow recovery, and choosing Marcus not out of necessity, but out of respect. For the first time since his own wife died, Marcus felt that the future wasn't something to brace for, but something to walk toward. The final test came quietly. One ordinary evening, she practiced standing. And when she finally reached the dining table without assistance, she smiled, not like a billionaire, but like a woman reclaiming her body. In that moment, Marcus understood the marriage had healed them both. Weeks later, she declined a ceremonial role on her board, resigned, and sold off assets. They moved into a modest home near his son's school, where neighbors only cared if you waved back. When people asked why she walked away from billions, she said she'd spent years sitting in rooms where no one loved her, and now she wanted to stand in a home where someone did. The world moved on, but inside that house, a lesson remained. The real story was never about a billionaire standing up. It was about a single father who refused to bend his character, and a woman powerful enough to own anything who finally chose a life built not on control, but on trust. Because sometimes, the most unbelievable moment isn't when someone stands from a chair. It's when two people stand beside each other without needing to pretend who they are. Thanks for watching.